Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for joining me for my weekly guitar blog. It's July 5th, 2015, and this week we're going to do a lesson that I've called From Scales to Licks. And this is from a question that was sent in from Ryan. He's out in Billings, Montana, and he wrote in with this email. For around 2 months now, I've been learning the guitar's minor scale patterns, I've also seen called Aeolian Mode. The scale shapes from the book I own are now memorized and I've gotten pretty good at them, but I still can't make up any guitar licks. The patterns I know are called block patterns in my book. Are these the ones used in most guitar licks? Any help here would be cool. From Ryan in Billings, Montana, USA. Well, thanks for writing in, Ryan. Most of the guitar books that show the scale patterns are giving them in a tight position layout on the neck, and some guitar licks are certainly played from those types of closely grouped scale patterns. However, if you were to start spending a good deal of time learning licks found in many of the most popular songs out there, you'd discover that there are a lot of very linear patterns applied as well. But that's only one part of the answer I have for you. On the other side of this idea of creating a lick library, I guess you could call it, you need to think musically and be inventive with the layout of the scale. It's not just an in-position block pattern. You got to think beyond that. So in this lesson, we're going to run through a few different ways that you can begin breaking away from generic scale shapes and start turning scales into guitar licks. Well, the first idea I'd like to cover with this topic is that when we initially start building licks from the scale patterns, we need to understand that the layout and the approach of the fingerings that we use will often be different with the licks as compared to the scales kind of like in position shape. So first I'd like to just play through a popular 5th position minor scale shape. It's going to be a scale pattern of D minor off the 5th fret, D tonic on the 5th string in 5th position. Now on the diagram that's going to show up on the screen here for you, those blue dots are representing the D notes of the D minor pattern. They're located on the 5th string and the 3rd string, 5th fret, 7th fret. And here's the scale layout. So there's the D minor scale played across from the 5th string to the 1st and then back. Now next I'd like to run through a guitar lick and place a particular focus on the fingerings used for the lick that are just different, from the way that we played the scale patterns in position shape there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to play the lick here first of all for you so you get a chance to hear what it sounds like. Here's the guitar lick. So D minor guitar lick out of that D minor scale pattern that we just ran through. Here it is again. So it's kind of a quick guitar lick idea. It's using notes from the 2nd string of the scale, the 3rd string, into the 5th chord tone or the 5th interval off the root of the scale. It's an A, and that's on 4th string. Then we're going to come back up on the 3rd string. Here we're going to do the different kind of fingering idea. We have an articulation here of a slide, and we're moving up into this 8th fret note. It's a G note. And then we're coming back around to those 6th and 5th notes on 2nd string again, kind of a predominant idea in the lick. And then we're wrapping up into the root, into the tonic note of that scale, Here it is again, a little slower. Again. So you can tell there we are playing not just with different kinds of sequences focused on very particular notes, and the main ones of course are the 6th and 5th frets there on that. There's an F and an E on that 2nd string. So, and then, we're targeting into that root of D, and we're just, really working with a small group of notes out of the large scale pattern. But we're repeating notes. We're taking a look at using a different kind of technique there. We have hammer-ons, pull-offs, and that slide. So some articulations, there's some embellishments we're using. This is how you go into the full scale patterns. You're breaking them apart using small segments, and you're doing different kinds of fingerings while you execute these different phrasing devices like the slides and the hammer-ons and the pull-offs. And then from that point, you connect one lick to the next and to the next, and we're going to go over some ideas coming up here in a moment with some new scale patterns. But before we get there, I just want to play this guitar lick for you one more time. Well, let's get a little bit more familiarized with the neck in the key of D minor by running through a few more scale patterns, starting with a 6-string 10th fret D minor at the 7th position. So the Ds are going to be located at the 10th fret of the 6th string, the 7th fret of the 3rd string, and up high here at the 10th fret of the 1st guitar string. So here's the scale layout. Again, the blue dots on your diagrams are the D notes. And the next shape I want to look at is another D minor pattern based off the 10th fret 6th string, but this time the pattern is going to be in the 10th position. Okay, next I want to create a lick from these two scales that's simple and only uses the top two strings, but demonstrates how the scale patterns can be used to create licks that are more based upon rhythmic concepts and the creation of sequential note patterns. So here's the guitar lick idea. We're going to use some 16th note triplets. Here it is again. So what's happening there is we're only using the top two guitar strings. We're just using strings 1 and 2. And we're starting off there with that 16th note triplet lick. And that's doing a little bit more work with this slide and different fingering approaches here. So that's out of that first scale pattern shape that we had initially worked through. Then that brings us up a little bit higher on the neck here. That's where we're going to start working on the next scale pattern shape. And then taking one note from that high 12th fret there. And then resolving on a D note at 10th fret 1st string. So we're starting in the 5th position. We're moving up after that into around the 8th position, and we're going up as high as the 12th fret. Finally resolving on that 10th fret at the 1st string. So it's a little bit of, of a stretch to do that last lick idea, but overall the concept here is that we're applying quite a few 16th note triplets. We have one at the start. Then when we do our position shift, we've got another one here. And then we've got that last one, and then finally wrapping up on that D note at 10th fret. So really neat idea. It's a great example too of how rhythms play a huge role in what we're doing, and also simplicity. We're only using 2 guitar strings, and then more work with the lateral movement of different kinds of fingering concepts to help us, especially with shifting position to position along the neck. But I still have one more idea I want to cover with you yet. Well, in my last example, I wanted to demonstrate how a lot of guitar licks will carry on across several fingerboard patterns and positions, creating repetitive lines. So here's how this guitar lick sounds. As you can tell there, it's covering a lot of ground. There's a long run of notes from the low register of the D minor scale in 5th position. And then moves up into that interior set of notes from this other scale pattern. And then at the end there, it's at the top end of that final scale pattern that we looked at. So, the rhythmic phrasing is also another big factor here to this lick, and, it plays a role with any kind of lick that you're going to build, I would have to say. Now, in this case, it's very steady 16th notes just ripping through the whole lick there. But these are important concepts, whether you're looking at the different kind of fingerings that you're going to apply to be able to get you moving from position to position along the neck, or perhaps if you're just looking at other kinds of techniques, we're doing a lot of stuff here in terms of slides and, hammer-ons and pull-offs. We're not really showing anything right now on bends, but, there's another idea. There's trills. There's a lot more vibrato type concepts you can add in. So all these phrasing devices, they play a pretty huge role. But this is how you pull the licks from the scales. As you can tell, you can, you work on minimal amount of strings. That last lick we did only had the top 2 guitar strings. This one's, going across all the strings, covering everything. Well, not all of them. It doesn't have anything on 6th, but it's coming from 5th here, It's really covering a lot of ground inside of each of those scale pattern layouts. So, this is how you're going to wind up doing it, working in patterns, in segments, and you'll start noticing things that you like to do that may involve perhaps a slide and then maybe some half-step movements. That's really what this is all based on. It's kind of a slide idea, gets you to the new position, and then you've got your hammer-on pull-off concept. And when you chop them up like that, that's another thing too, is, don't really look at your scales all the time as being an extremely linear thing. Look at them across the neck and along the neck. And, we even, other things that we haven't talked about, such as string skipping concepts and all this. I mean, the more broken apart that you look at these scales and the more that you attack them in terms of that you don't really follow any kind of set fingering layout. I mean, this fingering layout that I'm using for this lick, it's really different. It's really heavy on the use of index and middle fingers. So, all this kind of work is what's going to get you eventually to think about your scales in very, very different ways and be able to pull them along the neck in all kinds of different directions. But anyway, to take you out, I'm going to play this guitar lick for you one more time. Here it is. There you go, and it's, of course, like the others, in D minor. When we set out to start making scale patterns musical, either through composing melodic ideas or by organizing different styles of licks, it can be kind of frustrating in the beginning. The scale patterns we initially learn are generally shown in fingerboard diagrams, but those diagrams are all in position and don't really help us very much when it comes time to apply the note layouts and create licks and runs. Now, the licks we create will most certainly have very different fingerings, and the only way really that we can go around the neck with these shapes and be more active is to invent different ways that get us out of those locked in fingerboard regions of the neck. So in the few examples that I've shown here, we saw how fingerings change to match the lick and how rhythmic patterns play a pretty big role. We also saw how licks tend to cover a more lateral range of the neck. And so if you begin applying these simple ideas at first, you should be able to start breaking away from the scales in the block areas of the regions of the neck and start formulating more interesting licks from the scale patterns. It'll take time and it'll take practice, but that combined with learning solos and learning licks of your favorite players and even buying some of those different books on guitar licks, blues licks, all that stuff, it all pays off down the road because in time you really get this stuff together and your playing benefits pretty huge from it. So anyway, that's all the time that I have for today. As always, I want to say thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and if possible, consider a small donation to help fund the Guitar Lessons project here. Otherwise, have yourself a really great week, and I will catch up with you next time. Bye for now. I'd like to take a moment to mention another guitar video lesson project I've started. It's a unique guitar lesson approach that I'm doing online, and it's not like anything I've done before. Best of all, it's 100% free. I've called this approach guitar micro lessons, and they're a great way to learn a few new licks or riffs or chord shapes each week. Now, these guitar micro lessons are quick and easy to learn from. They're very short, with each lesson running between only 1.5 to 2 minutes in length. They're published to YouTube from Monday to Thursday on my other Guitar Blog Update YouTube channel, and you can either subscribe to that channel to guarantee getting each new episode, or just visit the channel whenever it's convenient for you and check out the new micro lessons in the playlist on the Guitar Blog Update channel's homepage. The Music Reading Phase 1 ebook has over 30 pages of comprehensive project lessons covering the entire fifth reading position on the guitar. Music reading charts and drills will work to help students memorize the placement of the fifth position notes, including important sharp and flat tones. Several original and classic pieces of sheet music will help students to gain a solid understanding for this region of the neck. Rhythm studies, duration examples, plus song and location drills along with 19 MP3 audio tracks makes this one of the best music reading courses available online. Music Reading Phase 1 is available for instant download in the View Our Products area at creativeguitarstudio.com.